Parev sireli paragamner. Yes. Imanunus Mehmet Fatih Uslu jev hajgagan kraganutjun gashkadim tırkagan kraganutjan het. Bolsomeç İstanbul Sehir University. Jev kirkergı tarkmanem hayerene tırkereni. Shadurachem for hosem sezihet. Shad shunuragalutyun for having me here. Bidisharunagem anklerenov. Yeteguzek. Today, today my talk is about my adventure with Armenian and Zabel Yesayan. Last week at a conference in Istanbul, after my presentation, a young Turkish lady came and asked me to sign a specific passage, a specific paragraph from Hokis Aksoryal, My Soul in Exile, Zabel Yesayan's novel, which I translated into Turkish in 2016 as Sürgün Ruhum. And I was amazed, but I said, no, I cannot because I am not digging Zabel Yesayan. Sorry, but she insisted on, and I signed it. And I felt really happy at that moment. It was an interesting moment in a very positive way, in a very good way. I know that my last 4 years were full of Zabel Yesayan. I wrote a lot of articles on her literature. I translated 3 of her novels, and the moments like these are real emotional rewards for me, of course. Learning Armenian indeed has brought me many emotional rewards as a Turk. When I began my dissertation in 2006, my dissertation topic was about Ottoman theater and dramatic literature. And after some months of work, I realized that Ottoman theater was a common product of Armenian playwrights, Armenian producers, composers, actors, actresses, stage workers. And there were tons of periodicals, plays, books about Ottoman theater in Armenian and in Armenian Turkish. So a very natural and obvious question emerged in my mind. Why not learn Armenian to profit from all these sources? And if I read the sources in Armenian, my dissertation will be much more comprehensive and satisfactory, of course. I tried to find an institution where I could learn the language, but I could not find one. I understood that as a non-Turkish in Turkey, it was not that easy to learn Armenian at the time. And after some months, I was really hopeless to find a place. But in Turkish, we have a saying, her şerden bir hayır doğar. Also, I think we have the same saying, almost same saying in Armenian, çıga, çarik, vor çipere, parik, or amem panimeç her mıgaçe. As a as a parik after a horrible charik after the assassination of Hrant Dink, a group of academics and students seeking a positive reaction against the assassination decided to learn Armenian. And they organized a private lesson group. I joined them, and that's how my adventure started. It has been a long journey for me. I worked very hard myself, then went to Venice and studied there for 1.5 years with Professor Boğaz Levonzekian, then got a Fulbright scholarship, studied at Harvard, and I really enjoyed all those years, which were full of Armenian and Armenian literature. It was an unexpected joy to me. And I got that Armenian literature had a great richness, which I haven't expected, to be honest. When I came back to Turkey, I published my dissertation. I finished my dissertation, published it, and after these, first like 3-4 years, I can say that At first, I saw Armenian as a secondary language, as a foreign language, which I used to conduct my research on Ottoman theater and dramatic literature. But after a point, I realized that it's not a foreign language for me. It's a language of my own country. I'm from Harpert originally, from Harput. My family comes from there. I understood that it's a language of Harpert, and I can say that learning Armenian opened my eyes. Learning Armenian opened my senses to understand myself. Later, I began translating from Armenian to Turkish. My first translations were from Hagop Baronian. Then I began translating Zabel Yesayan in 2015. My meeting with Zabel Yesayan was a total coincidence. One day before my Armenian adventure started, I was studying in the library of Boğaziçi University, and after long and tedious hours of work, I saw Arabalyozian's translation of Silihtari Bardeznere, Gardens of Silihtar, on one of the shelves. I took book and read it there immediately, and wow, it was so beautiful. I fell in love with her, not with her, with the book, of course, not with Zabel Yesayan. I'm married, so and I looked for other translations in European languages, but nothing was available then. But I retained the taste, the extraordinary taste and excitement that I got from this wonderful reading. During those years, interestingly, Zabel Yesayan, the name of Zabel Yesayan became somehow popular in Turkey. After this famous conference about Ottoman Armenians in 2005, and after the assassination of Hrant Dink, maybe you know, there was a growing interest in Armenian culture and Armenian past of Turkey in Turkey. And Zabel Yesayan was one of the names that came up. And people, especially leftists and feminists, love her, and mainly because of her wonderful magical life story, her wonderful personality, because she was the first woman to have a college education, first Ottoman woman, not only Armenian woman. She was the only woman on the list of to be arrested intellectuals in 1915. She was a leading feminist. She was anti-militarist. She was a victim of Stalinist purges, and she was a very, very good writer. So people wrote many short articles about this wonderful life story in Turkish. But it was interesting because there was nothing in Turkish from her corpus. So people in Turkey knew her without reading her. I think it was an interesting literary phenomenon in last years in Turkey. In 2013, I began working on her corpus, and my aim, or in more romantic words, my dream was writing her biography. But after a few months, I felt awkward because every day I was experiencing her absence in Turkish and in Turkey. So I changed my mind and I began translating her works. I felt like this as my own debt. It was an interesting feeling because Zabel Yesayan spent her last days in 1920 in Üsküdar and could never come back to her native city, to her own city. But her literary world continued to live in Istanbul and Scutari, Istanbul, Bolis and Scutari, Istanbul and Üsküdar. All those smells of Bosphorus, colors, the landscapes, the beauty of the city continued to breathe in her work. She maybe obsessively reconstructed the city in her works after 1915. So I felt there, I saw there a very strong and very deep longing, a very deep garrod for her honesty, and I thought it would be important, it would be valuable to bring her back to her honesty, to introduce her to her native Bolsetsis who totally forgot her, who never tried to remember her. I'm sure most of you know Aras Publishing House. I work with them. They publish wonderful books in Armenian and Turkish, and I think Aras is a very important cultural institution for Armenians, but I think it's much more important for Turks and Turkey, because with their books, with their wonderful products, they open new ways for us, for Turks, to understand our recent past, to understand what we lost when Armenians lost their homeland, to ask questions about our sorrowful forgetfulness. Now, I can say I feel happy because, at least to a certain point, Zabel Yesayan now is back home after those translations. Now Turks can read her fiction, can hear her own voice, can understand how she missed, how she loved Üsküdar, Sukutari, and can ask questions about their forgetfulness. I know Ağed is there with all its weight, but I think reading Zabel Yesayan, we Turks, we can, Zabel Yesayan's novels can help us to remember and to understand. Now it's 2019. I'm still working on my book on Zabel Yesayan. I hope one day I will finish it, but anyway, I'm very delighted and proud of being Zabel Yesayan's translator in Turkish. Thank you.